provided a boilerplate from, and y'all started working from that, or?
The benchmark provided some information as to where to go towards, but this has been developed by us.
What did we pay them $7,500 for?
They were doing this work plus other code enforcement and ordinance work.
So they started on this way before the budget presentation then?
Yeah, because we had already had those discussions before that point to be doing that.
Okay, page 10 of your budget presentation, Michael says additional staff is not projected at this time. Staffing levels are reviewed each fiscal year to determine the need to allocate or reallocate employees. So why was this put in our packet 6 weeks after the budget was passed?
Because at that point, I did not realize the detailed work that was going to be required to do inspections, the housing inspections program.
So why can't it wait till next year so that we can have a proper budget
Certainly
hearing,
could.
public hearing? I mean, it hasn't been done for 12 years, why can't we wait another year?
I'm not saying it can't be. That's for you all to tell me what to do at this point.
I have a real issue with this being in your budget. I have a real issue with this anyway. I mean, I can go through paragraph by paragraph on this. From a due process standpoint, I feel like this is backdoor eminent domain. And I know you all are going to disagree with me, but the thing about this is slum and blight. There's a lot of people that would consider something slum and blight, where I would consider it rural charm. I wonder how it's going to be driven. It looks like it's going to be whether we're going to have a pretty committee that decides 5 or 6 people that come and says, oh, this is not pretty, or this should be looked at, or blah, blah, blah. I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about Summerfield Road going down here to the trail park and getting rid of what affordable housing we do have. I just feel like it's a backdoor to eminent domain for Summerfield.
If I may speak strictly to your timing issue, I would respectfully disagree. I understand the budget issues that you're bringing up. There's a lot more that the council needs to do in order to pass this. From a legal standpoint, I don't envision this being ready to be voted on until at least maybe February or March, which would put you in line to address it during your next budget cycle. Speaking from one that drafted it and knows what procedures we have to go through, we're long from even looking at money. So I think, in my opinion, it's appropriate for council to at least discuss it now. So yay or nay, because there's got to be at least one public hearing, if not 2, to get us there.
Well, that's good to know, because it looks, the way it's presented, it's like, oh, we've got to do this now.
No,
It's got to be done now.
no, absolutely not.
It's just that we've been
Absolutely
working on
not.
it. We've been working on it, and this is now ready for discussion. And really, if the council says that you don't want this is the time to tell us this, because then we will stop working on it, and it will be no more. But we had to be able to bring something to you so that you could reflect on it, see what effect it had, and understand what was in process, so that you can tell us, no, we don't think we need this in the town of Summerfield, we're not going to do it. We'll keep doing whatever we can in other areas for enforcement of these types of situations. Or, yes, it's appropriate, let's keep looking at it, let's keep figuring out what can we do to move
Can we
forward.
not do some kind of nuisance ordinance, or without having to do this, to address what I know are a couple of issues that people have?
We have a nuisance ordinance, and we've gone as far as we can go in certain cases under that nuisance ordinance. Now, that doesn't mean that we couldn't creatively try to apply it, in other circumstances, but and see how that works. That's the best I can say on that. I don't know if Larry, you want
My concern about addressing it in a more particular sense than the general nuisance that we have right now in our ordinance is that any time the state legislature has enabled a municipality through a specific set of regulations for a specific situation, you can't backdoor it under something like nuisance. So if we want to get very specific with housing conditions, I would be hard pressed to use nuisance alone to do it for fear that somebody would challenge our ability to do it simply under nuisance when there is a more specific enabling statute that would govern our actions in a minimum housing situation.
But we really wouldn't know that until we tried it under the other ordinance, so would.
I would agree with you. The other side to it is because we were talking about real property interests, the stakes are high to the extent that we're wrong. One of the things that you're concerned about is that this is a quote eminent domain, backdooring an eminent domain. People believe that their castle is, their home is their castle regardless of what condition it's in, and tensions are high. So to go out on a limb on a nuisance, I would be uncomfortable with when you're talking about somebody's real property. Just because the potential costs associated if we are in fact wrong. And that doesn't mean that you can't direct us to forge ahead.
Yeah, let me interject one thing, and Blair can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is the case, and one of the main points of doing an ordinance like this. With the general nuisance ordinance, you cannot go into a home, you can only see what you can see with the structure from the outside. With this housing code, it allows the town to have the authority to go into someone's home, basically whether they really want you to or not, to do the inspection, to make sure that it is a structurally sound home. With the nuisance, you're just looking at things on the outside, not, weeds, trash, debris, things of that nature usually that you can see from the outside. And that's really all you can, that you can go after with the nuisance part of the ordinance.
And that's the problem I have with this. It is it's a police power ordinance.
Yes.
You know, and I just have a real problem with that. You've got a lot of old homes in Summerfield. I mean, homes that were built long before there were ever indoor plumbing, and they added indoor plumbing on the side of the house. You know, where you have to walk through people's bedrooms to get to the side of the house, to the bathroom. I don't know how many of those houses are probably rental homes. And normally, codes like this are addressed toward rental properties and enforced toward rental properties. I just have a real issue with this kind of police power in a town this size.
I believe one of the changes that Ms. Carr was looking at was the administrative warrant, I believe.
That's correct.
To have before an entry could be made, there have to be an administrative warrant be issued by a judicial official to authorizing this. Just in general terms, yes, this would be the type of ordinance that we see Greensboro using constantly with some of their very, what do they call the landlords and slumlords, to literally force their way in to make inspections on houses that are falling down, etc. We don't have much of that, if any of that, exactly here, although that type of thing can rear its ugly head. And the situation we wound up with back about 1998 in Brown Summit, when I was working for the sheriff's office, we had a situation with the house in which there was no plumbing, it was not a livable house, yet there was what we would call squatters there. There was no way of getting in touch with an owner that we knew of at that time. There was a lot of drug activity going on, and it was affecting that Brown Summit community a great deal. And when I remember specifically calling Guilford County and asking, look, is there something we can do, health department or something with the minimum housing? And the answer was no, because they didn't have the ordinance then, and they still don't. We wound up in that particular one figuring out that it was in a state, and wound up just having to threaten other more serious action against the state to do something, but we were totally powerless otherwise.